history. And as part of those tax cuts, I've announced that I will eliminate taxes on tips for restaurant workers, hospitality workers, and anyone else that gets tips. No more taxes on tips.
Now that sounds like a great idea. No more taxes on tips. Cut out taxes on overtime. Trump's policies seem strong. Aaron, what do you think about Kamala's policies there as well?
I think she's trying to steal as many policies as she can, or at least say she's going to.
That's true.
Yeah, no, the policies are strong. You said, here's another one that...
A new policy today that I will support a tax credit for family caregivers who take care of a parent or a loved one. It's about time that they were recognized, right?
That's awesome.
That's exceptional, actually, to hear that.
They add so much to our country and are never spoken of, ever, 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 but they're going to be spoken of now. Thank you all very much. I'll also make...
That's huge. That's so huge, because when you do that, you're really making the ultimate sacrifice to take care of your family member. Yeah, I mean, you can get like subsidies or whatever and stuff like that, but I mean, you're not working. You're taking care of that family member, and it's good. It's good that he's going to have that tax credit for that. I think that's huge. That's important.
I agree. I'd like to see more of that, because right now, you know, the Democrat Party, or just the government in general at the moment, is offering some very hard to achieve subsidy for people for taking care of their folks, but it's nearly impossible to get for the majority of people. You know, I know from experience, you know, people in my family have tried to get it, even though they were full-time caretakers for others in my family, and it's been very difficult for them to get anything. And it's been, what they did receive was absolutely minuscule, you know, like not even enough to buy food for the month, for example. So it's a tough trade-off there. That would be nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's you get rewarded for being as lazy as possible is basically what the policy is right now. You know, if you illegally came into this country, you don't work, you don't contribute in any meaningful fashion. Here's 13 grand on a card and 4 grand in cash, and we'll put you up for 2 years and all that kind of. But if you're taking care of, you know, your mother who needs you there to take care of her, it's really hard to, like, you know, get subsidies. It's just crazy.
Has Kamala come out with
speaking of Kamala, you know, yeah, go ahead.
Has Kamala come out with anything in this regard, and for her policies?
No, I'm surprised she hasn't stolen this one yet, because it seems like anytime Trump has something cool, like, she's like, oh yeah, no, we're doing that too. They're not.
That's true. They did come out with no tax on tips. Trump did. And then about a month later, you know, the Democrat Party does seem to have adopted that same. And when they said it about, when Trump first came out with it, Kamala said it was a terrible idea. And less than a month later, they seem to have adopted it. So there's some double speak going on there. What's next on the tax and tariffs policy, my friend?
You know, and here's the thing. As we know, the lies are crazy. The big lie right now, the big lie, one of many, is that Trump said that if you work overtime, you won't get paid for overtime.
I never heard that one yet.
No, he fucking did not. He absolutely did not.
That's wild.
Yeah, he definitely did not. Here is what
today. I'm also announcing that as part of our additional tax cuts, we will end all taxes on overtime. You know what that means? Think of that. Think of that. Huge. Think of that. That gives people more of an incentive to work. It gives the companies it's a lot easier to get the people. And, I went to some economists, great ones, and I said, what do you think? They said, it would be unbelievable. You'll get a whole new workforce by doing that. No taxes on overtime. The people who work overtime are among the hardest working citizens in our country. And for too long, no one in Washington has been looking out for them. Those are the people that really work. They're police officers, nurses, factory workers, construction workers, truck drivers, and machine operators. It's time for the working man and woman to finally catch a break, and that's what we're doing because this is a good one. And I think it's going to be great for the country. So that's why we will be saying that if you're an overtime worker when you're past 40 hours a week, think of that. Your overtime hours will be tax-free. Okay, good. You're going to have it too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That is great.
That's definitely awesome. It's a long time coming, honestly, because it's always been. I used to work a shit ton of overtime, and I remember it almost wasn't worth working overtime because you would get taxed more.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
For being attorney in overtime. So you definitely don't want to be in that kind of situation. So this is huge. These policies, these first three policies right here will make a real legitimate impact on working people, like on working families, the middle class, the working people who work for a living. Will feel a real immediate change in these.
I'd like to mention that Aaron and I,
Your mic is out.
it's working over here. I'd like to mention that Aaron and I here are both business owners, and we have the unfortunate opportunity to not receive any overtime. But for all those people that do, there is a maximum cap on actually receiving overtime. And for a lot of people, that is obviously a big problem because after about 50 hours a week, there's almost no incentive for people to actually work overtime simply because of the fact that they're not receiving, they're actually losing more. By working more than, say, 50 hours, for a lot of people, it ends up being a situation in which they're literally making less money than if they worked 49. And that's a big issue for a lot of people that receive overtime pay, a lot of employees in general. So the no tax on tips, the no tax on overtime would be absolutely tremendous for the 99%, for the average American, the non-salaried employee.
Yeah, it's a huge, real contribution to people's pockets. So here, let's talk about some policies. Let's talk about some policies on the other side.
Let's see what Kamala's got here.
Here's Vivek talking about one of Kamala's big policies here. Kamala Harris favors a tax on unrealized capital gains. That means many farmers and small business owners will owe taxes without having the cash to pay for them, triggering forced sales of assets. There's no better way to trigger a second Great Depression. He ain't kidding. That will absolutely leave the American people holding the bag. It would destroy the entire market. Like the whole market would be absolutely destroyed. You can't there's no way to reasonably tax unrealized gains because you haven't.
This is a big problem for a lot of people. I'm sorry, Aaron, but this is a big problem for a lot of people there. Not only small business owners, but also your average investor, the average person who has a few bucks in their IRA, 401k, thrift savings plan, in the stock market, in a cash account or a margin account, on whatever brokerage, whether it's crypto or stocks. Because if your stocks go up, all of a sudden now you have to pay for your unrealized capital gains. And where are you going to get the cash for it? You got to sell stocks, or you got to come out with it out of pocket. If you come out with that out of pocket, and then the stock goes down, well, you just lost all that money that you paid in taxes, and then on top of that, you also lost the value of the reduction in the actual account of your stock or crypto brokerage.
Here's Brian Beers.
Can you get her to quiet
X
down, please?
Did this post, and it
Thank you.
is a perfect explanation of exactly how this would work. So unrealized capitalized gains 101. You bought 100 shares of Zoom stock in January 2020 for $75 per share. It ends the year at $350 per share, but you didn't sell. You're still holding those 100 shares of Zoom stock you bought for $75 a share. That gives you an unrealized gain of $27,500. Under Kamala's plan, you owe $6,875 in taxes, so 25% of the gains that your stock had. But you didn't sell, so you don't have the cash. You pay the taxes out of your savings. Now, let's say you continue to hold those stocks until August 2024, finally selling for $60 a share, which is a $15 loss based on what you bought them at 75. So you lost $1,500 on the stock, plus you paid taxes on the 27.5K of gains you never actually received since they evaporated. The initial tax proposal is only targeting people who make 100 million plus, but that's just the start. It opens the gates, lower the threshold whenever they choose. Before you know it, every person who owns a stock is paying this tax. People stop buying stocks. Companies have less capital to invest in new products and develop technology. Economy tanks, jobs lost. What a joyful future. Um,
I love
it
it.
would absolutely destroy the market. Totally destroyed. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Um, it is just stealing. That's
Without
all it
question,
is.
man. Without question. People are bringing up the same topic or the same fact that, oh, that's only for rich people or people that have over a certain value. Well, I'd like people to know that Switzerland just did something very similar. They raised taxes on very rich people. And as a matter of fact, this year, they're bringing in even less tax revenue than they did last year because those people took their money to another country. And that's exactly what's going to happen here in the United States. Period. Go on, brother.
Well, and that's how everything starts.
Mm-hmm.
That's how income tax started. It was only for the wealthy. All of a sudden, now everybody has it. It opens the door. So speaking of that, nice segue. Good job. Nice job, boss. Nice segue into the next slide here. Here's the myth of the rich not paying their fair share in taxes. Bottom 50% only pays 2.3% of the total income taxes paid. Just really let that
So the
sink in.
bottom half pays 2%, 2.3% of the total income taxes paid. Okay. Okay,
right.
I see.
The top 50 pays 97.7. Obviously, that makes 100. This is not like ownership in AMC stock where it equals like 148%. This actually equals 100%. And the top 1% pays 42.3% of the taxes, the income taxes collected.
Say that one more
Meanwhile,
time.
Kamala's new plan of tax,
One more time, brother, for the people in the
25%.
back.
The top 1%, 1%, the 1%ers pay 42.3% of the tax. That's almost half. Here's a graphic. See this big giant blue section right here?
Mm-hmm. Sure do. It's
That's
hard
the
to
top
miss.
1%. Top 1%. And the top 5% to the top 1% combined pays 62.7% of the taxes. Literally 2/3 of our total income tax comes from the top 5%. And if you include the top 10, let's go with the top 10%. Because really, I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Let's count
if
the
you're in the
top
top
10%.
10% of wealth in the country, you're doing pretty fucking good. I'm just gonna say,
Yeah.
you're doing all right. So let's see. That's 10, 30, 72. 73.6% of our taxes are paid by the top 10%. So the rich aren't paying their fair share, that's just a fucking slogan. It don't mean shit. They already are paying their fair share.
That's absolutely a fallacy. There's too many people out there that say, oh, well, they're rich, they can afford to pay more and this or that, or they need to pay their fair share. Well, at what point is fair? You know, what point is fair? What do you just consider that everybody else, even though they put in a different level of effort, a different level of risk, should receive the same thing? Because I don't think that that's fair for anybody. I think that that's communism. And if somebody's working 60, 70, 80 hours a week, risking millions, if not even billions of dollars, then they're entitled to make a little bit more money and keep a little bit more money. But like you said, Aaron, when the top 10% are paying more than 60% of all of the taxes in this country, that's a problem. Not to mention they have a higher percentage tax rate. They're already paying significantly more per person. So I don't really think that that's fair at all. But anyway, let's move on. This is about the policies. Let's keep it going, brother.
Yeah, CNBC just said that Kamala has left policy discussion on taxes. She doesn't even want to discuss the taxes because she knows she's a fucking train wreck. So she's like, all right, I'm going to let my lapdog, which that guy is fucking, he's out way out in left field. Like you go out in the left field in the ballpark, you go out there and it's the grass and then you get the warning track and then there's the wall. He's past the wall, past the stands, the highway, the next state over. He's way the fuck out in left field.
We're talking tampon Tim here.
I don't even know anymore about him. He's supposed to be smart, but he fucking dumb as shit lately. But anyway, policy decision on taxes to be handled by Mark Cuban in the final 2 weeks of the campaign out of fear she'll screw up and alienate people.
I said, why are you?
So let's check this out.
Letting Mark Cuban be out here, being the face of this, why aren't you saying it yourself when it is something that matters to so many people?
Because they don't want to alienate other voters. That's the big. That's the big.
Of course, the big thing out there. And when I said this matters to so many people, someone told me yesterday they would tell you you're crazy if you said that to the campaign that this matters. The defense is that this isn't something they think is really going to be a moving issue in the last 2 weeks of the campaign, so they don't want to touch it. They don't want to alienate, but that
they don't want to alienate the base, but they also don't want to alienate their big donors, and that's the issue they run.
Exactly. And I guess with 2 weeks left, they'd rather just let Cuban talk about it, even attack. They say we don't want to make it more of a thing by having Harris herself come out and say it. But I agree with you, especially reporting on this campaign, trying to get concrete details out of them has been really difficult.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no shit. Because it's really simple, guys. If you don't understand why Kamala hasn't set herself solid on literally any, it's because then you can't pin her to it.
Yeah, that's true.
You can't say, well, you can't pin her to anything because she hasn't committed to anything.
It's really hard to, talk about her policies when there have been none. When the only one talking about Kamala's policies is someone that's not even on the Democrat Party. It's Mark Cuban, and the only reason that he's doing it is because he's vying for a position at the Securities Exchange Commission. Meanwhile, Kamala has already stated that under one of her, policies would be to, or her plans, I should say, would be to take Gary Gensler, the current head of the Securities Exchange Commission, and make him the head of the United States Treasury in place of Janet Yellen when she retires, which is, I'll let you decide for yourself if you think that Gary Gensler should be the head of the U.S. Treasury, considering the work he's done in the Securities Exchange Commission over the last several years. No comment from me. No comment.
Now, however, that does free up your girl.
Oh, Yeller?
Some more action, boss.
Yeah, it does.
Let's see here. Grant Cardone, who's been very vocal. Honestly, I like it. He's been very vocal about Trump and his policies, and I was glad he got a chance to speak at the Madison Square. But he did. Grant Cardone just brutally torched Kamala Soy Boy Mark Cuban in front of tens of thousands at MSG. She wants to tax unrealized capital gains. Not even her simp, Mark Cuban, can sell this. I gotta see this.
She wants to tax unrealized capital gains. No. No, this is complete gone. Not even her simp, Mark Cuban, can sell this. Even Marky Boy says this would destroy the global economy and take the USA down with it.
Yeah, brutal.
Ladies and gentlemen, Kamala Harris is the least qualified candidate to ever run for any political office in American history. She makes her boss look competent. She's a fake. I'm not here to invalidate her. She's a fake, a fraud. She's a pretender. Her and her pimp handlers will destroy our country. They will. They've already crippled the dollar, manufactured inflation, imported a virus, censored your voices, funded transgender surgeries, and made empty promises to the middle class for 50 years. This election has to be more than a victory. It needs to be a landslide.
Yeah.
Here,
She
here.
wants to.
I think he did a great job, honestly.
It was exceptional. Queen Bee in the chat says that Kamala is an absolute snake, slithers around, avoiding taking a stand until she finds something Donald Trump does to copy.
Yeah.
It seems like that to be the case more and more because her policies are very non-existent. The only time she took a policy was the day after a comedian said some funny jokes about Puerto Rico. Then she came out with a policy the next day in regards to giving Puerto Rican men bribes, basically $20,000 bribes to start a small business. That was the day after. So the only thing that seems to be influencing Kamala in actually making policy is trying to find anything that the other side does not say, because this content didn't come from Donald Trump or even anybody in the Republican Party. It came from a comedian, the king of roasts, Tony Hinchcliffe of Kill Tony, the comedy show.
Yeah. And what's funny is even Jon Stewart was like, he's just doing his thing. That's what he does. Like, people need to relax. Like, and Jon Stewart is a known fucking Democrat fucking peddler, but even he was like, I think he's funny.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. It was a funny joke. It was just a joke. You know, unlike now you've got Joe Biden, who is not a comedian, who is literally part of the Democrat Party, literally Kamala's other half in the current administration, that's calling over half of Americans who are Trump supporters or RFK supporters or even, you know, independents that are voting for Trump. He's calling them trash. He came out and called them trash. Meanwhile, you know, where's the outrage from the left? Where's the outrage from the Democrats for that? But of course it's not. They always find a way to come up with a reason to why it's not a big deal that Biden said that, but it is a big deal that a comedian said that about Puerto Rico. And again, it's just hypocrisy at its best. And they try to use the guys and the fake news that the mainstream media is trying to say over and over again that Donald Trump is a racist. Meanwhile, the guy has gotten nothing but good, positive words being said about him from black, brown, blue, orange, and yellow people all around the world.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's fake moral outrage.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's just call it what it
Absolutely.
is. I mean, even Colin Rugg says the same thing here. Jon Stewart calls out the media's fake moral outrage over Puerto Rico, saying he thinks Tony Hinchcliffe is hilarious. It's all a performance. Look at the faces on the clown of the media. It's all fake.
It was fucking funny, man.
Here's Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart, everyone.
You know, most of the time he's a Dem simp, but just once in a while he shows a flash of brilliance where he's just being a regular human being. A comedian, just being a regular like comedian, just like SNL. Have you noticed the change in SNL lately? how they're actually like roasting Biden and Kamala a little bit now?
I don't watch it, but there's been a huge increase in the number of clips coming on like Twitter and stuff from SNL, and they're actually they're roasting the shit out of Biden and Kamala, and you didn't used to see that in the last even the
No.
last 8 years. You kind of didn't see that.
No, you wouldn't see that at all. So here is here's cackling Kamala. She wants to repeal President Trump's tax bill, which benefited 91% of Americans got a benefit from Trump's tax bill. And this comes after 3.5 years of high prices, low wages, and runaway inflation. So the only thing worse than Bidenomics is Kamalanomics. I don't want to have to say that before fucking. I don't want to have to say Kamalanomics. It
No,
just
me
sounds
neither.
fucking stupid.
God, it doesn't even mean anything. It's nothing. There is no Kamalanomics.
Bidenomics is bad enough.
Yeah, no shit.
So here she is. Oh,
rubbing her
So these
coke
are
nose.
some of the ways, but we've got to increase the corporate tax rate.
Oh yeah,
we also have to increase taxes for the top 1%, and that part of that.
They're already paying almost all the fucking taxes to begin with. Let's increase it more. What happened in Switzerland, boss? Didn't you just talk
majority
about that?
of their tax revenue went down when they increased the revenue on the richest people, the taxes on the richest people. The tax revenue went down because a lot of the rich people took their money and took themselves elsewhere. This was just.
And here's the thing. See, that doesn't sound like to us in the middle class or whatever, or working class, middle class. That doesn't sound like a normal. Oh, they're just going to leave the country. Yeah, they're fucking rich. They don't care. They can go anywhere.
Yep.
Literally, they're like,
it's
just a fucking. They don't care. One house is just as good as another. They don't give a fuck. They'll go to some other fucking beautiful place and have a $100 billion fucking ranch. They don't care. Like, they will pack up and leave and be like, oh, you want to take another 10% of my fucking wealth? Fucking see ya. I can do this shit from anywheres. And they do. It's not like, it's not like me where I could be like, oh yeah, I'm just going to move to Botswana, like out of nowheres. And then, the taxes went up. I'm going to go to the outback in Australia and live there for a while. That's it. I'm not going to, first off, I don't want to move like that, but I wouldn't have the means to do so. I wouldn't want to do so.
A lot of people also don't understand that
but these people don't care.
You don't have to live out of the country for the entire year either. You could live just say 90 days or 120 days, or in some countries 270 days in a different place, and you're considered a resident of there. And you could come back, every month. You could travel back and forth between the two, and you'd be considered a resident of the other country, instead of the United States or Switzerland, etc. So yeah, it's a very, very complicated for most people because we don't ever have to worry. Well, a lot of people don't ever have to worry about that thing, about that situation, but it's a reality.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and that's just it. Most of us don't say, "Oh, well, we don't like our taxes, so we're going to move to another country."
No,
that's just not that's not a normal fucking thing for us.
No,
we're just like, "Oh, fuck, this sucks. I got to pay more taxes." Like, because we eat it. Like, we bend over and take it right up the cake.
Right. So that's not a good Kamala policy for anybody. Not for business owners, not for the middle class, not for the richest people, because when they take their money out of the markets, when they move their businesses overseas, when they move themselves overseas, obviously that's less tax money for us. That's less support that they're putting into our schools, our roads, our infrastructure, and so on.
Well, that's why tariffs work, because that's the big argument right now, because Trump's saying, look, we'll just replace these taxes with tariffs. Well, what happens is when you tariff, see, this is another thing. People don't think this way because we're not supposed to think this way, honestly. Honestly, we're not supposed to think this way. But let me let you in on a little bit of a secret. A big giant company, okay? I don't know, let's just think of some company that whatever. Hershey.
Yeah.
Let's just say Hershey was outside the country. Let's say the base operations for Hershey was in, I don't know, fucking China. Let's just say that's where Hershey was made. Big, giant chocolate company. They ship their candy bars all over the world. We buy a whole shitload of them because we love our fucking Hershey chocolate. and it all comes from China. Let's just say that's the situation. It's not, but let's just say that's what it is. Now, Trump puts these tariffs in place, and what happens? What happens? So the price of candy coming in is going to go up, right? What is Hershey going to do? Hershey has enough money, and they're a big enough company. They're going to say, because Trump will tell them, look, tariff's going to be 25% because you're in China. But come put a plant right here in the United States, and it'll be zero. And you want to see
Absolutely.
how fast a fucking Hershey plant pops up in the United States after that?
You're right, man.
And then see, and there's more benefits now. Now we're going to get chocolate even cheaper than what it was before the tariffs coming from China because we don't get to ship it here. It's being made here, and it's providing jobs to our citizens, our people, good paying jobs to our people. There's so many benefits to it, and a lot of companies have because of the threat of increased taxes because of all this kind of stuff. So tariffs will bring jobs, it'll bring economy, it will ultimately bring lower prices to everybody in this country because everything would be made here. Um, we were talking earlier about how Kamala Obama likes to steal ideas. Well, here she is. She stole the taxes on tips ideas, like Boss was saying. She stole that. She stole the tax on tips idea from Trump after he said it. And here's how CBS spins the headlines on the same exact policy. Same exact policy.
Oh, I want to see this.
Here is how they report on Trump. Former President Donald Trump's vow to stop taxing tips would cost the federal government up to $250 billion over 10 years, according to a nonpartisan watchdog group.
Nonpartisan,
Anytime
right?
you hear fucking
Nonpartisan.
nonpartisan watchdog group, for fuck sure, number one, they're partisan as hell, and number two, they're just there to fucking write propaganda. That's all they are. That's all. Anyways, but this is CBS News on X posting this, okay? And then Kamala says the same exact. Is it a different policy? Is Trump's policy, Kamala's policy? We put them on the scale. They're the exact same motherfucking policy.
Yeah.
What does CBS say about Kamala? Vice President Kamala Harris is rolling out a new policy position, saying she'll fight to end taxes on tips for service and hospitality workers. Yay! Isn't she awesome? Wow!
And people eat this shit up because
Orange man bad.
they're not doing any research. They're just looking at the shit they hear on NPR, looking at the shit they see on CNN and CBS, and they're rolling with it. They're like, oh, well, Trump's policies are going to increase our, are going to cost us money. But Kamala's policies that she stole a month later are going to be great. And they're looking at, reducing taxes on tips. Fantastic. It's like, come on. Look at what these people have done. Why hasn't Kamala done it in the last 4 years if she's now claiming she wants to do that? She could do that right now. She could literally go and make these changes right now. Unreal.
Because she's not going to. She is literally just saying anything to try and get people to vote for her. She's not going to follow through on any of the stuff that would benefit us. She's going to follow through on the stuff that would hurt us. You can guarantee that. But she would never follow through on this taxes on tips. She'd never follow through on that. She never would. I don't believe it for a second. So here we're talking about those tariffs.
Whoa.
Trump.
Does that say what I think it says?
This is the New York Times, by the way, even says it.
Woo.
Trump flirts with the ultimate tax cut. No income taxes at all. The former president has repeatedly praised the period in American history where there was no income tax and the country relied on tariffs to fund the government. People don't understand this. We have a huge economy. And if we use and leverage our economy, other countries won't fuck around. Period. They won't. They literally won't. And Trump proved that in his first term.
Yeah.
But this is real, and this could really, really happen. We used to function without it, and then the central bank came in 1913, and we've been in this borrowing, inflationary, losing the value of your currency economy ever since. Um, but we didn't need it. Back then, there was literally, we had so much money, we actually had to create a commission to decide how to spend it. We had too much money. We had,
It's
I'm
wild.
going to say it one more time.
It's wild, man.
We had too much money. We had too much money, and then we
This
brought
is
that
the way things used to
stupid-ass
be.
central bank.
We just started paying taxes about 110 years ago. Over, for the first 200 years, for the first 150 years or so, 160 years of this country, we didn't pay income taxes. This is really pretty much since 1913. Up until then, there was some income taxes implemented and repealed. And then, of course, back in the early 1900s, they were implemented for rich people. And then a couple years later, they were implemented for everybody, including you and I. So going back to this, it's not like doing something unprecedented. It's not doing something that's never been done before in the history. This has been done in this country, and it was done for over a century and a half. And all it would be cutting government spending, cutting departments of government that we don't need, and instead of taxing, which is taking your money, stealing from us, from our families, from your family, unnecessarily, they would just be increasing tariffs on other countries and then having sales tax and things of the like, which I would be fine with. Because then that way, for example, say my family, which is a larger family of 6, we would pay more in taxes, in sales tax, than, for example, maybe your family listening, who's maybe, 1 or 2 or 4 people. So I think that would be more than fair to pay my fair share in what I consume and what I, spend on sales, on purchasing through sales tax.
Yep.
Right, Aaron?
I mean, you buy more shit, you pay more taxes.
Bingo.
It just makes sense.
Bingo.
And here's the thing. It's almost like people forgot why the hell this country exists. we exist. I don't know if people remember this. Maybe they don't teach us in schools anymore, but I know they taught it when I was in school.
Mm-hmm.
But we threw a whole shitload of tea in the harbor over a fucking 2% fucking tax. We were pissed about the fucking the tea. Like, we were so pissed about the tax on tea. And now we take 25%, 30%, and we're just like, man, yeah, whatever. This is how it is. We've been conditioned to accept it. It starts small, then they tack a little bit more, then they tack a little bit more, and they justify it by creating this giant heavy foot of government, which is a phrase that basically the heavy foot of government is how big the government gets over time. So the government used to be just the lawmakers and maybe a few, paperwork pushers and stuff like that. Maybe just a little bit of that, and then all of a sudden, oh, we got to make a department about this. We have to make a department of agriculture, and we got to make a little department over here of fisheries and wildlife, and then we got to make a department of education, and then we got to make a department of this. And, income tax. So you got to make the IRS, and we got to make all these different little departments. And guess what? We don't elect a single motherfucker in every one of those departments. We don't elect none of them,
Right.
And they regulate 98% of our lives. The FCC, the FTC, the SEC, ACC, SEC, the NFL, NHL, whatever. I mean, all of them. Like, they're all over us. And that is what Elon's going to come in and do. He's the Department of Government Efficiency is basically going to go in and he's going to wipe out these bureaucratic. He's going to eliminate that heavy foot of government and make it a slimmed down government, which will function. You will notice literally no difference. Look at X, for example.
Mm-hmm.
He got rid of 87% of the staff.
Yeah, hundreds of people. Yeah.
Is X broken? Nope. Working just fine.
It's running better than
Matter
ever.
of fact, more features are being added.
Yeah.
It's better than ever. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And it's the same thing with the government.
Here's Trump on Joe Rogan.
We don't need 87,000 new IRS agents to go after the middle class. Studies have shown that over 63% of cases from these new 87,000 IRS agents, who, by the way, Kamala Harris was the tiebreaker for to implement and
Of
fund
course.
and hire the 87,000 new IRS agents. 63% of all the cases that they're taking on are people making under $120,000 a year. The middle class. People making 20 grand, 30 grand, 50 grand, 80 grand a year. 63%. That is the Kamala Harris that we're looking at. Roll the clip, brother.
It'll
Did
keep
you just
companies-
float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure, but why not? Because ready? Our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s.
Mm-hmm.
A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs.
I just want to stop real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Notice that president was assassinated.
Gee, I wonder why.
An amazing fucking coincidence.
Yeah, no lie.
language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. You know, they, believe me, they control our politicians.
Yeah. No, he's
Exceptional
absolutely right. It's that's what it's all about. That's the whole reason the central bank and everything like that. That's the whole reason it exists. That's the whole reason that it's we're in the situation we're in is because the central bank was installed in here after McKinley was assassinated. We had plenty of money. We didn't need a central bank. All of a sudden, we entered into this war out of nowhere. This war basically that was funded by the same people on both sides. The same people funded both sides of World War I. I don't know if you knew this, but to go look it up. Look up your history. You'll find that the Rothschilds and the Vanderbilts and all these big name, the globalist people who are in charge of the central banks, they fund both sides of every conflict that's on this planet. Don't get it twisted. It's not about anything else but that. It is. It always has been and it always will be. And so we entered into this war. Oh, well, geez, you used up a lot of your financial reserves. Let us put a central bank in there.
Can you believe there are still people that think that the deep state doesn't exist and that the globalists are not working together? I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm not going to name names, but I was talking to people today that thought that the deep state was a conspiracy. Like where do people put their head in the sand? How can anybody not know at this point about the Rothschilds and the Soros and the Schwabs of the world and everything else that they've done to, like you said, fund wars all around the world for both sides so that their companies, their banks, their war machines can make record profits? It's just astounding to me that some people, I think it's very few, but some people still think it's a conspiracy, and it just boggles my mind. And they call me a conspiracy theorist for it, and I'm just like, well, the evidence is all there. The evidence is all there. You just got to go look for it, and it's not hard to find. It's everywhere. It's staring you in the face. Go look at the World Economic Forum's website and see what it says and see what their policies are. Their policies are they want you to eat the bugs and own nothing and be happy.
Yeah, that's what they want. I'll be fucking
I think are we shifting into border here? Queen Bee here brings up a great point, brother, and I want to read this out loud. She says, even if we suffer now through higher prices due to tariffs for a little while, we would have the money to endure it because there would be no income tax. And as it stands now,
right,
we have higher prices and no extra money to make ends meet. That's a very good point, Queen Bee.
No, it would absolutely balance itself out. That's a great point, Queen Bee. I appreciate that for sure. To your other point before we move to the border, though, there's two reasons why people don't know. One is blissful ignorance. Some people don't want; they'd rather not know. They would rather not know. They're just
It's
like, I
just
don't want to be
easier.
bothered with it. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to know about it. Everybody, we know people. Every single one of us knows people like that. I don't want to hear about it. I don't care. Look, whatever. I don't want
Yeah.
to know. I'm just happy doing my rat race, 9 to 5, or coming home and paying too much for a Swanson family dinner. But the other thing is cognitive dissonance, and this is a real thing. And what it basically is, I'm going to read this real quick. In the field of psychology, cognitive dissonance is described as a mental disturbance people feel when they realize their cognitions and actions are inconsistent or contradictory. So, what that's basically saying is this: is you have this firmly held belief, and wherever that belief comes from, whether it be from watching TV, whether it be from watching CNN, whether it be from reading what's in the newspaper, from what people tell you, you're going to get this belief in your head that something is a certain way, whatever that happens to be. And what happens is when evidence to the contrary of your firmly held belief is presented to you, it actually makes you uncomfortable. It actually makes you like it actually makes you physically and mentally uncomfortable. So so this may ultimately result in some change in their cognitions or actions to cause greater alignment between them so as to reduce the distance. Relative items of information includes people's actions, feelings, ideas, beliefs, values, and things in the environment. Uh, Typically experiences a psychological stress when persons participate in an action that goes against one or more of those things. According to this theory, when an action or idea is psychologically inconsistent with the other, people do all in their power to
Yeah.
change either so that they become consistent. That's why you see the straw man arguments. That's why anytime you present factual things, we saw a lot of this with the whole COVID scenario. We saw a lot
Hmm.
of this. People refused to believe anything that you said, and the reason is because it went so firmly against what they had in their head as truth that their brain could literally not accept it. They're literally psychologically, their brain says, "I can't accept that. It would be too painful."
Right.
And
Right.
that's the biggest thing that we're fighting right now.
I agree.
It's very hard. They have to come up with it on their own.
The biases are just too strong to overtake, especially when people spend a good portion of their lives believing things or studying things only to find out that it's not real, regardless of how many facts are presented, whether, that counteracts somebody's thought process. It becomes, no matter how factual, it becomes just something that they have to brush off as a conspiracy or as fake or as something that could not be possible. And it's literally, like you said, the definition of cognitive dissonance. But I found it just shocking to me personally, just how prevalent that is nowadays. And then guys like us, people like us, ladies and gentlemen, we get called conspiracy theorists because we're able to look at the facts, compare them to everything else that we've learned over the years, and come to the conclusion that, hey, we were wrong for our whole lives and have looked at everything objectively and come to the realization that we were wrong. Now we see things differently. And that's the difference, I think, with a lot of people. Is some people can actively do that and say, I was wrong, now I believe this, or I was right and this is still wrong. But it's impossible for some people, I believe, truly. But anyways, go ahead, brother.
No, it really is. It really is. Uh, it really is. Being labeled a conspiracy theorist, I'm actually, I like my batting average. I've been right about a shitload of
Oh,
stuff.
absolutely.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I fucking told you so 6 to 9 months ago.
Right.
Guy.
It happens over and
That's the
over
kind of
again.
theorist
And,
I am.
but no
Yeah.
matter what, some people will just do everything in their power to try to make that not the case. They'll, no matter what, they'll pretend like it's not reality. And that's just the facts.
Yeah. No,
Like the
well, and
illegal
that's
aliens that are taking
you know,
over this country right now, right?
Kamala and Mayorkas opened the border in an unprecedented fashion, inviting more than the previous two administrations combined. So here's Obama. Let's go
Holy
to the
shit.
graphic here. Obama, in his last term, let in 4.5 million illegal aliens, first 45 months of the terms. And then Trump let in 4.395 million. And I wouldn't say let in. Obviously, he was doing everything he could to try and keep them the fuck out. You can only do
Yeah.
so much. But of course, the Congress wasn't helping him along the way either. And then
Right.
Biden Harris. This number doesn't feel correct. It feels very, very low. But this is the official number. This is just like the job numbers where they say, oh, we made 1.8 million jobs. Oh, wait, we got to revise it down to 4. We actually only made 4 jobs. Sorry. So, whoops, we misreported the numbers. I think this is the opposite. I think that they're reporting 10.4 million, but I think it's probably closer to 18 to 20.
I would say
if
it's
not
double
more than
that amount too. When you really think about it, even all of the people that are flown into the country, those don't count as Title 8 encounters. All of the people that get past border security without encountering border patrol, none of those people count. Yeah, and I personally know a lot of people that have in the past entered this country illegally. I speak Spanish, so I've worked a lot of jobs in which there's a lot of people from South America and Mexico and stuff like that. And I am even Hispanic. I am part Mexican and part Spanish from Spain. And I know a significant number of people that I've met over the years, especially in the last 4 years, that have come into this country illegally. Some of them are great people, but a lot of them,
Yep. No, they really are.
not those great
So,
people, but some of
don't
them
get me
are
wrong.
absolute criminals, terrorists, murderers, rapists, people that should not be in this country at all.
It's really crazy the level that it's at. This
Holy
graph
shit.
here, the red in this graph is other foreign nationals, and those are illegal immigrants, illegal aliens without legal permanent status. Example, they entered illegally or overstayed a temporary visa. And
Wow.
if you look, I mean, Bush had a little bit of it going on back here. Obama didn't have a whole lot of those. Trump didn't have much of those. Look at the Biden administration. Look at how many of these quote other foreign nationals. It's crazy. It is not. You can't sustain something like that. It'll destroy your
A
country.
lot of the people on the left
Um,
right now are forgetting the fact that Obama deported millions and millions of people from this country. So the reason that Obama's numbers are down in the first three bars there are actually in the negative is because Obama was sending millions of people back out of the country. And that's why you see here the red bar is actually in the negative for 2009, 10, and 11 for Barack.
yep.
And Donald Trump did the same thing. Donald Trump increased border patrol, increased security, and made it harder for people to get in illegally. And of course, that was all wiped away. 97 different policies, border policies that Trump had enacted to secure our borders were wiped away by the border czar Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, of course, but Kamala Harris, because she was the border czar, duly appointed by the Democrat Joe Biden. And this is where we stand now. Go ahead, my brother. We are running long, so let's keep it on moving. I've been going ranting. My apologies.
That's all right. It's a lot to rant about. Biden admin whistleblowers claim billions of tax dollars used by a government contractor to traffic children on the border. By far the saddest part of the whole illegal alien fiasco in our border is the amount of children that are trafficked across that border. And we don't even want to get into what, why, and how. We don't even want to. Um, so here is Rep. David Kustoff. Under border czar Kamala Harris, hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants with criminal backgrounds have flooded into the U.S. The Biden Harris administration's open border policies have put our communities in danger. We must secure our border now. There's 600,000 illegal immigrants with criminal backgrounds that were released into the United States. 600,000 criminals
That's that we know
released
of.
into the United States.
Now there's
That's what we,
probably millions more that we have no idea. Those are the people that were previously convicted of crimes. Now imagine how many of them were never convicted. Whatever fucking country they came from.
Well, I mean, Venezuela has almost nobody left in their prisons. Why? They sent them all here. They literally emptied their prisons
Yes,
and
they
said,
did.
send them to the U.S. That's literally what happened.
That's
How do you
exactly
think
right.
that?
Yeah.
Here's the thing: you have to use common sense in these kind of scenarios. You see, like these videos of the caravans of them all walking through Mexico on their way up here, right? I want you to pay attention to those caravans, those videos when they play them, and take a look at the people in those caravans. Look at the clothes they're wearing, what they're carrying, how with the shape they're in, and then think about this. If you were going to travel thousands of fucking miles on foot, would you be doing it in flip-flops? Would you look absolutely clean? Would you be shaven? Would you be carrying a kid for thousands of miles? All of these things make no logical sense. And the more you think about it, if you look at those videos of those caravans of people that are coming here, it's a goddamn photo op. It's not real. Think about it. Like, literally stop and use the logical part of your brain and look at that. You'll see people in flip-flops. They're not traveling miles and miles and miles and miles and miles on the road in flip-flops, and then they're like their clothes are clean. And where are all these people showering and
Correct.
shaving and eating? And where is all of this happening? I'm just saying. There's a lot more to this that a lot of that doesn't make any sense at all. So here is Kamala Obama saying, as president, I will reduce illegal border. Okay. I will keep the border closed between ports of entry. Those who cross illegally and are apprehended will be deported. If someone isn't seeking asylum at an entry point, they will be barred.
And as president, I won't only bring back the border security bill that Donald Trump tanked, I will do more to secure our border. To reduce illegal border crossings, I will take further action to keep the border closed between ports of entry. Those who cross our borders unlawfully will be apprehended and removed and barred from re-entering for 5 years. We will pursue more severe criminal charges against repeat violators. And if someone does not make an asylum request at a legal point of entry and instead crosses our border unlawfully, they will be barred from receiving asylum. While we understand that many
Okay.
people are desperate to migrate to the United States, our system must be orderly and secure.
Alrighty then.
Just the gaslighting is insane with this fucking woman. Jeez. I want a woman president, but not her. Jeez.
No, I want somebody who's qualified.
I
But
agree.
That's the bottom line. I can give a fuck if it's male, female, black, white, brown, orange, yellow. I don't give a fuck who. I just want them to be qualified. I want them
Yeah.
to run the country and take care of us. That's it. That's all I want. It has nothing to do with any of that. She's the original. She's the big DEI hire. Matter of fact, Biden said that's why he had her as a vice. Oh, it's going to be the
It
first
is.
black woman vice president.
Biden admitted it
She,
himself.
of course, that's a whole other conversation. She was saying, "Oh, well, I'm Indian." And, okay.
Let's
Anyway,
see what JD Vance has to say. 445,000
JD
violent
Vance?
criminal illegal immigrants.
Problems.
Whoa.
Yeah, 445,000 violent criminal, not just criminal, violent.
Right.
That's double the size of the U.S. Marine Corps.
Holy
We got to
shit.
get back to deporting people that shouldn't be here.
Whoa.
I hate to say this, man, but I think the reason why it's so bad is really because of our failed current leadership. When Kamala Harris became vice president, she was appointed the border czar. They bragged about suspending deportations. They bragged about stopping construction of the border wall. They bragged about expanding what's called catch and release, where if somebody comes into our country, they claim asylum, they're released into our country rather than having to wait in Mexico while that asylum claim is processed. That has encouraged this massive increase in illegal immigration. Now, of course, a lot of those folks are good people. They just want to work. Now, I think they should come through the proper channels, but I've got nothing against them personally. But when you open up the border that way and lead to that level of chaos, you're going to get tens of thousands of, unfortunately, pretty hardened criminals who have come into our country. And I think the number that I saw recently, Chris, is approximately 425,000 violent criminal illegal immigrants are in the United States of America right now. That's double the size of the United States Marine Corps. I mean, I served in the Marine Corps for 4 years. It's hard to even imagine twice the number of U.S. Marines that we have are illegal immigrant criminals in this country. And we just got to get back to deporting people who shouldn't be here, finishing the border wall, just enforcing our immigration laws would make so much of this problem go away.
Oh, imagine it.
That's insane.
Enforcing the laws that already exist. Yeah, it's just more and more and more of the same. She's literally got no plan. They want the illegals in here. They want them here. They ship them to Republican stronghold states. They do that because of two reasons. Everybody says, "Oh, well, they want them to vote," and they do. That's why they want to fast track. That's why you had Chucky Schumer come out and a few other Democrats in Congress come out and say, "Oh, well, you know, we gotta find a way for amnesty for all of them, make them all citizens." Okay, so you want to make 20 million people instantly citizens that the Democrats gave a whole bunch of free shit to and said, "Come into our country." Okay,
Yeah, they
wonder
need
who they're
more
going to vote
voters.
for.
More voters for the Democrats, of course, because the Democrats are the ones that are promising the money. They're the ones that allowed them in for free after many other people had to work very hard and wait nearly a decade. Immigrating to this country should be easier, but it shouldn't be an open door policy for any criminal in the world. Period.
You should be vetted. Everybody should be vetted before
Absolutely.
they come in. There should be a vetting process. It shouldn't be like I don't think some people it takes 10 years or whatever. I think that's too long. Obviously, that's too long. I want immigrants in here. I want them here, but I want them to go through a process that hey, we want to make sure you're not a total scumbag or you're a killer or a
Right.
rapist or whatever.
Yeah.
Like want to
It's
make
the
sure
least
you're
that we could do.
you know or at least understand, some about our country first. Don't just come over here for no reason whatsoever. Um, that's not unreasonable to ask for that. It's not unreasonable to expect that of people coming in. But the other reason that the Democrats want all these illegals and they're shipping them to all these red areas is well, actually they're shipping a whole bunch to blue areas too. And the reason they do that is because the more people you have in the census counts anybody that is in the state. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen or not. So if all of a sudden a strong Democrat place has way more citizens in it, oh, all of a sudden that's worth more in the House of Representatives, and that's worth more in the
Correct.
Electoral College, and all the, it's
Correct.
just it's a big game to them. They play on emotions. They say, oh well, we should feel bad. These people will just want to have a better life and blah blah blah. They play on your emotions. They want you to feel good about it, and oh these poor people, and we gotta help. We don't have to though. That's the thing. We don't have to help these people. We don't. We don't.
We
It's nice
can't.
to help
We
people.
can't even help
Yeah,
ourselves.
but we got to help ourselves first. All the homeless and the veterans that we have here, we should be helping them first. All the money we've spent on the illegal immigrants, we could literally have zero homeless in our country right now. All the money we spent on the illegals.
Bingo.
Not even legals. Not even legal immigrants. Illegal immigrants. So here's another clip from News Nation. On day one, Biden and Harris removed President Trump's border policies that you were talking about, kept our nation safe. After 10 million illegal encounters, they could have used the same pen. put those policies back in place, but they didn't. So let's hear this one here real quick.
Ooh, not
Okay,
good.
now with us now is Republican Congresswoman Lisa McClain of Michigan. Thank you for joining us. Now, you just heard the governor acknowledge the problem on immigration for the Harris campaign, but accuse Republicans of being more interested in exploiting the problem than solving it. How do you answer that charge?
I'm just curious, that pen that President Biden and Vice President Harris used to undo all of those executive orders that kept our nation safe, did that ink pen run out of ink? I don't think so.
Nope. It's really that simple. It's really, really that simple.
Lisa Madigan's a savage.
Here's Barack Obama exposed Kamala Harris's border policies. A perfect ad for Trump. You know, it makes me wonder. These are really stupid moves that Barack and Clinton, Biden, some of the shit they said.
I want to talk about this. This is serious. We have a real issue at the borders. We're a nation of immigrants and we are a nation of laws. We've got to make sure the system works the way it's supposed to, in an orderly fashion. So there's work to be done there. Now, I want to talk about this. This is serious. We have a real issue at the borders.
We have a real, literally 6-7 months ago, they were saying,
There's no problem at the border.
There's no problem at the border.
Right.
No. Well, and of course, that same time frame, 6-7 months ago, Kamala Harris was the worst vice president in the history of our country.
Yeah. I think that's why Alyssa Marcelino in the chat said, we are all garbage, apparently, according to the Democrats.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, let's hear this. We got guns on topic. All right, Kamala's got some gun policies, right? I want to see this shit.
Yeah. So here she said, Kamal. He calls her Kamal. I like that. Kamal says she and Tim Walz both own guns. She's not going to try to take people's guns. So let's check that statement. She didn't say it once, twice, or even 3 times. She practically campaigned on gun confiscation. I'm not shocked. Are you shocked, Marcel?
Not at all. I'm not shocked in the slightest.
Okay.
Of course.
I'm prepared to take executive action and put in place a ban on the importation of assault weapons into our country. But we still have to deal with the...
We make them here. What the fuck is that to do?
Yeah. She must have
2
forgot.
million assault weapons that are currently in the streets of America. And so a buyback program is a good idea. If Congress fails to act, I'll give them 100 days to put a bill on my desk for signature. And if they do not do...
That's a Freudian slip.
Yep.
See if you catch it.
To act, I'll give them 100 days to put a bill on my desk for...
Did you hear what she said?
She said pill.
We'll play it one more time. If you don't hear it this time, I'll tell you what it is.
Fails to act, I'll give them 100 days, to put a bill on my desk for signature.
To put a pill on her desk. She said, where is her brain right now? I don't know. There's something a little Freudian.
Yep. Yeah,
there.
that's true. That's true. But again, remember, this is the part, if I recall this video, it's the part where she says that those buybacks are mandatory, which for those of you that don't know what that means, it means you don't get a choice.
We'll put in place by executive action, a comprehensive background check requirement, and a ban on the assault weapons and importation of assault weapons into our country. I'm done.
And that's why we will work to pass universal background checks, red flag laws, and an assault weapons ban.
You know what a red flag law is, right? It's basically for any reason, if they feel you're unsafe.
Oh, right.
So literally, Marcel, if you were on Twitter saying, I don't like this policy about taxes, and that was it. That was your tweet. I don't like this policy on taxes. ATF could come to your house and say, well, you're against the government. It's a red flag. You're a danger to people and the government and whatever. We're going to take your guns. That's basically what they were doing.
And actually, they cut out the part of the video.
Kamala just said,
in that interview, they asked her, and are these buybacks mandatory? And she replied, yes. And I thought that was that video, but it was the same video, but they cut the clip short.
Kamala just said she wasn't going to take away any guns. 3 days ago, she said she would ban assault rifles.
And that was September of this year.
Here's a tweet.
That was just last month, right?
Yeah. This is recent. This is not like 12, 15, 20 years ago. This is literally a month ago. Together, we passed the first bipartisan law addressing gun violence prevention in nearly 30 years. We have more work to do. We must pass an assault weapons ban, universal background checks, and red flag laws. So that's the other thing. None of them can identify or define. Well, they have a hard time defining anything. What's a man? What's a woman? What's an assault rifle? What is an assault rifle exactly? They can't identify one. So if they would see, that's how they play their game, though. If they don't identify it specifically and say, well, an assault rifle is only a rifle that is longer than X inches and has a magazine that carries X number of bullets or more, has a fire rate of X or greater, you know what I mean? Like if they actually define what an assault weapon is, then that limits their ability to come and take your shit.
Correct.
That's the bottom line. That's why they don't do it. And that's why anytime they're asked, they never identify it. Oh, what they do is they put it back on you. Another one of their games. They say, oh, well, you know what an assault rifle is. You know what it is. No, please tell me. No. You're just playing games. You know exactly what an assault rifle is. Okay, sure. Here you go.
It is.
Here's your.
That's the one.
Kamala Harris says she supports a mandatory gun buyback, which is confiscation. Communists disarm the citizens so they can't defend themselves from tyranny. This happened in Venezuela and any other communist state. You'll see exactly the same setup. They take away the guns.
We have to have a buyback program, and I support a mandatory buyback program. It's got to be smart. We got to do it the right way. But there are 5 million at least. Some estimate as many as 10 million. And we're going to have smart public policy that's about taking those off the streets.
Okay.
There you
So
go.
let me throw this out there.
Mandatory.
If assault weapons are illegal, right? Let's just say assault weapons are illegal. That means that no criminals will have any.
Correct. Look at how safe Chicago is. Look at how safe New York City is.
Well,
right?
You know what? Let's skip the whole gun thing. Let's just make murder illegal.
Oh, yeah, good
then
idea.
There won't be any murder.
That's genius, man. How has nobody thought about that yet? Just make murder illegal?
I don't know.
It'll be
I don't know.
all good.
I don't. Apparently, us, the 24 or whatever watching right now, you and me, Marcel, we figured it out. That's all you got to do. Yeah, no, that won't change nothing. All that will mean is that the criminals are the only ones who will have those guns, because believe me, they'll fucking get them. They will. If 20 million people made it into the country illegally without us catching them, do you think they can't get a gun across?
One gun, 20 million people, they can't get a gun. Yeah.
Yeah, come on, get the fuck out of here. Here's the other thing. Kamala apparently, she always talks about, I was a DA in California and I prosecuted these crimes and I hate her so much. Oh God, I hate her so much. And it has nothing to do with her skin color. She's just an annoying bitch. But here she is as a DA, basically saying she can just walk into your home anytime to see if your guns are okay, which is fucking it's mental. It's absolutely, of course, it's California, so it's all a little bit different over there. So here we go.
Responsible behaviors among everybody in the community.
Can you turn that up at all?
Because you legally possess a gun.
That's as far as it goes.
Okay, go ahead.
It is the lowest volume thing.
Turn it up on my end.
In the sanctity of your locked home doesn't mean that we're not going to walk into that home and check to see if you're being responsible and safe in the way you conduct your affairs.
Just because you own a gun legally in your home doesn't mean we're not going to walk into your home to see if you're being safe and responsible with your gun. Oh my God. Beat it.
So Kamala literally just said that we can walk into your home and check to see if you have guns or what guns you have at any time.
Yeah.
Does that sound like freedom to you?
As a DA.
Yeah.
This was as the leading law enforcement officer in California. She said, "Oh yeah, no, we don't need certainty. We'll just come right in and check and see if your guns are being secured properly."
Well, the good news, Aaron, is that Queen Bee lost all her guns in a boating accident, so they're not available to participate in the buyback. And Alyssa said that Kamala's response to having a gun is, "I have a Glock." That's the most ghetto answer you could possibly give because she doesn't have it. Anybody who owns a Glock doesn't own just a Glock. They have that's like saying, "I have a car." You say, I have a Ford F-150 or I have a Glock 9. They don't just come out and say, "I have a car." Yeah, when they ask you what kind of car, I have a car. That's ridiculous.
I have a pistol.
Yeah. Right. I have a pistol. Yeah. That's it. That's the kind of gun I have.
Pistol. I put bullets in it, and when people, if they break in, boy howdy, they'll get it. It's just so dumb.
She's got a 15 millimeter Glock.
Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Yeah, I have a 78 millimeter. Yeah, okay, that's not even a thing.
It's a
All
tank.
Right. So as this downward trend continues, again, the game is always, it's never our fault. It's always everybody else's fault. That's their game. That's the game that they play. But the only people they should be blaming is themselves. This is Byron Donalds. He's a congressman.
I
really
personally can't stand Byron Donalds, but I mean, the guy's not wrong when he says that Harris-Biden record is indefensible, and they know it. Historic high inflation, historic border crisis, historic foreign policy blunders, historic lawfare against Americans and their political opponents.
And who do they blame? You ready, Marcel?
Let's see.
It's my fault.
I have a feeling I know.
Watch. I bet it's my fault.
I bet it is.
I fit the demographic. I fit the demographic.
Apparently, they're already laying the groundwork to explain a Harris loss on election night. Blame white people.
White guy.
What I think is a mistake is to let white folks escape the accountability that they must face for not showing up to save democracy themselves. It's time for white folks to turn their eye.
Wait a minute. We're supposed to save democracy by not voting what we think is right and voting what they think is right? Is that democracy? Democracy is you're supposed to vote what they tell you to vote?
This country's not even a fucking democracy to begin with. So what kind of nonsense is that shit? It's a republic. The word democracy is not in the Constitution, but the word republic is.
A constitutional republic is what we have. I've gotten into this argument so many times with the twidiots. Those are the idiots on X, on Twitter. I call them the twidiots.
I like that.
Because
that's good.
They're just like, no, it's a fucking democracy because we vote. Ooh. No, it's not. Okay, constitutional republic. Really simple history lesson, people. Constitutional republic. We have a constitution, which is a governing document. That's number one. Democracy does not have that. Okay? They don't have a constitution in a democracy. Democracy is simply this: mob rules. The majority vote on everything. And whoever has 50.1% or more of the vote, this is for laws, everything. Everything goes to vote. And anything that gets 50.1% or more becomes law. That's it. That's what a democracy is. And guess what? Ours isn't like that at all because there's checks and balances for anybody who went to school and learned about this. That's why there's the three branches of government. There's the executive, the judicial, and the legislative. The executive is the president. The judicial is the Supreme Court, and the legislative is the House and the Senate. And that's why a bill could pass the House, but then fail in the Senate. Or it could pass the House and the Senate, goes to the president, he can veto it. It goes back. If they get 60% or more, they can override the veto. things can go to the Supreme Court to be overturned or ruled against. There's checks and balances. It's not just we have the most votes, so everything we say goes. If it was like that, holy shit, would we be in trouble right now?
To your
We would
point,
be in so much trouble.
that's
right
why we
now.
have the Electoral College. The Electoral College exists because 50% of the population in this country resides in 6 or 7 cities, coastal cities on the East Coast, West Coast, and Chicago, that make up the majority of the population. The Electoral College exists to prevent these 6 or 7 large cities from ruling over the rest of the 49 states. That's the whole purpose of it, because we are not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. Go ahead, brother. Who are they? I can't believe these guys are fucking blaming. They're blaming everybody they can here at this point.
To ensure they also do their part.
Joining me now, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, now first
so
Obama blamed
sorry.
sexism. Now media types are blaming white folks. So I guess they think they can shame people into voting for her?
They're going to try to shame people, but they should be ashamed of themselves. The Kamala Harris record has been a disaster. Everybody knows that. Immigration, our economy, foreign policy. I'll give you another one that is resonating when you talk to voters around the country. This radical transgender movement that's taking puberty from children and hiding it from parents. That radical stuff, putting men and women sports, these radical ideas from Kamala Harris and the radical left. That's what they should be ashamed of.
Yep.
But unfortunately for them, the American people look like they're going to elect Donald J. Trump because he has a recipe for our country to be successful. So they can blame whoever they want, but they have to blame themselves first.
Yep. Facts. That is some
Preach.
straight facts.
Preach, man. I gotta get behind that.
You know, and it really comes down to the level of oppression right now is massive. And this last post that we're going to end tonight with is actually, it's very concerning.
It's downright scary.
It is. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris just pushed through DOD Directive 5240.01, giving the Pentagon power for the first time in history to use lethal force to kill Americans on U.S. soil who protest government policies.
Well, would you look at that?
I'm going to
If
read
you don't
that
like
again.
what the government's doing and you're protesting, well, they can kill you. That's now legal.
Yep.
And these are the people that are claiming that Donald Trump, somebody who has time and time again stood up for minorities, Jews, blacks, browns, yellows, they're claiming that Donald Trump is Hitler. Meanwhile, they're the ones that are acting like the mustache man.
This
is the fucking Gestapo. They've made the Gestapo able to legally kill Americans with this bill. The Department of Defense.
Well, it's all projection. It's all everything that they say Trump does is what they do. It's literally everything. Literally everything. They're the ones acting like fascists. These actions are not actions of a free country. They're not. This is really, it's really fucking scary. It really is. Assisting and responding with assets with potential for lethality or any situation in which it is reasonably foreseeable that providing the requested assistance may involve the use of force that is likely to result in lethal force, including death or serious bodily injury. It also includes all support to civilian law enforcement officials in situations where a confrontation between civilian law enforcement and civilian individuals or groups is reasonably anticipated.
That is scary. And a lot of you're not going to find this on CNN and MSNBC, are you?
No, of course not. They don't do. There is no real reporting anymore. The only real reporting actually happens on X, believe it or not. It only happens on places like here, like us, like what we're doing. We're actually going out and finding the information and bringing it to you guys. Like people like us and people on Twitter. There's a lot of them on Twitter. X, I say Twitter all the time. I'm still gonna for a while. I'm just not used to saying X, but you know what I mean. The citizen journalists are the ones that are doing the real reporting, because we actually take the time to go and research. We actually take the time to go and dig up the information. And we provide sauce. We don't just say, this is what it is, and don't give you the sauce. Like pasta with no sauce is dry as shit. It's awful. It's no good. You got to have the sauce.
There's a lot of people
and
out
that's what
there
we're
with
all
no
about here.
agenda that are actually trying to provide solid information, as Aaron is saying. So if you've learned something, if you've been entertained, please drop a like and consider subscribing. Leave you with that. Too many people are not concerned
Vote
with things that they should be
like
worried
we're
about.
behind.
Yeah, people need to go out and vote.
Vote like we're behind.
Yep. Everybody needs to keep that
Play
in mind.
like we're behind. I'm serious. Go out, go vote. Get it done as soon as you can. Get out there, vote. Drag everybody you know to go vote. It's important. Go vote. Don't ever get complacent again, because that's why we're here. We're here because of complacency, and we can't let it happen again.
That should still be front page news, but it's not, because the MSNBC and the other news portals of the world don't want it to be. But that is an absolute travesty. Not once, but twice has this man, he has literally been shot already in the face. And twice it actually already happened here. But there's absolutely no reason that people should be accepting of the things that they're currently seeing. And we need to get out there and go vote. And even if you think your vote doesn't matter, you're wrong. It does. This needs to be too big to rig. And everybody needs to get out there and check the fucking boxes. If you haven't already early voted or you haven't mail-in voted, go vote in person. Go vote in person. And then make sure you check your ballot after it's printed to make sure that the things that you elected are the correct ones that were actually selected.
That's one thing I'm glad about here is it's just a physical paper ballot, and you actually fill in the circles yourself. It's not a machine that fills in. Like, we need a machine to fill in the fucking circles for us. That to me is crazy. Like, that doesn't even make sense. But make sure your ballots are right, and it doesn't take long. Honestly, do it now. This is important. If you have the access to early vote, do it. Get it done. Get your vote locked in. Get it done and over with, because you never know what's going to happen on election day.
Correct.
There's all kinds of shit that you could get sick. Your car could break down. There could be major traffic. There could be a problem with the printer. There could be a problem with the scanner. There could be there could be all kinds of
Lots of problems.
There's all kinds of things that could happen.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of shit that can happen. Get your shit locked in now. Go get it done. And the sooner we get that done, I hope we fucking just landslide the shit out of this and just blow the doors off the joint. I'm gonna make a prediction. This is a me prediction. I think Trump wins. No problem. Okay, I think there'll be bullshit, but I think we're gonna outvote the steal. That's why it's important we all vote. I think we're gonna outvote it. But I think the next step is that's why they waited to sentence him on that stupid thing until after the election. I think that stupid Judge Merchan, I think he's going to actually sentence him to jail time. They're going to try to put him physically into a jail, and then they're going to say he's not qualified to take the office. That's the hurdle we're going to run into, because they can't. I think they realize they can't win right now.
I'm thinking it's kind of the same thing. They're going to try to invalidate the election. They're trying to make it seem as if he can't be president. And there will be civil war on the streets, because I know I will not put up with that. And I know millions and tens of millions of other Americans that Joe Biden recently called garbage, called trash, are not going to put up with it. And that's, in my opinion, part of why the Department of Defense enacted the ability for them to kill Americans on our home soil here when they're protesting, because the Gestapo here are actually projecting and telling you what they're going to do before they actually do it. So make sure you vote, make sure you're prepared, make sure you're properly hedged, and expect the worst and hope for the best. Cheers, my friends.
Vote, vote, vote. Vote, vote.
Yes, sir.